being even more environmental friendly than reducing with 90%, is actually to start fueling her up with a biomethanol, which means that you can't get closer to a zero emission than sailing with biomethanol. We must all know here that Europe, as we heard from Mr. Grimaldi, is very dependent on ferries as a part of a functional infrastructure. We are talking about 800 million passengers, 200 million cars, and 40 million trucks and lorries who actually choosing to travel with ferries in Europe every year. Ferries, and I think this is very important, is also supporting the global trend of urbanization. We actually are using an existing infrastructure called water, and we're also supporting the whole congested infrastructure and traffic on land and on roads. We heard from the commissioner, the MP from Brussels here, that ferries are safe. I would actually say it's the safest transport solution. By being a safe or the safest transport solution doesn't mean that we can now just lean back and enjoy and feeling comfortable. This is an ongoing process where we daily must improve the safety awareness, improve the safety quality, but also practice and training and training. And from our perspective, it's much more a good investment out from a safety perspective to use the money on training than out from a regulatory perspective, adding more steel to the ship. Training is the solution. The shipping industry and Stena Line, we also care for the environmental perspective, as I told you about Stena Yamanica. We can see big improvements in reducing bunker consumption, improved fuel quality, and new alternative fuels. And I would actually add there, preferably non-fossil fuels. And I'm addressing this to all those who actually found, and I'm really pinpointing this, who found LNG as the future solution. It is not the future solution talking about LNG. LNG is still a fossil bunker. When we are talking about a sustainable future out from a bunker perspective, we are talking about electricity, battery, and also wind. That's a sustainable solution to invest in the future. We also see out both from an environmental perspective and a safety perspective that we are focusing more on digitalization and technical solutions. We can see improvements in environmental impact, new energy systems, intelligence onboard systems, but also the use of big data to track, but also to predict the environmental impacts and improvements. So big data and predictable data is also part of the future out from an environmental and safety perspective. So all those developments must continue and improve for us to be in the forefront. So in other words, we must encourage brave forefront runners like Stena Line and other colleagues in the industry, together with Motorways of the Sea, to continue develop and improve in the right direction, so actually shipping will continue to be the most attractive alternative to be transported by. And I would say, after this session, I hope that the buzzword at the lunchtime here will be decarbonization and electricity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. He's a real shipowner. So, and thank you very much for helping us setting up what is the Motorways of the Sea strategy, because we need to address short-term problems, medium-term problems, and long-term issues. And we have been trying to support those three things, and we would like very much to go along with you. And that's why we are inviting real ship owners to come and share the knowledge with us. So thank you very much for this. Thank you. And now, not you, Antonio. Now it's the third ship owner, is Mr. Aralampo Simantonis, who is the president of the Atlantic Shorty Shipping Shipowner Association, but which I believe is also representing, so in general, the ship owners, the shorty shipping ship owners in Greece, both for passengers and for cargo.
Yes, okay. I spent only 6 minutes. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I would like to thank organizer, especially Mr. Simpson and Mr. Anselmo, for inviting me to this important event for the maritime transport. Environment is the major challenge for our sector, and the ability of the European short shipping fleet to comply with forthcoming regulations will determine the future of the industry. The new 0.5% sulfur means that ships will need to burn more expensive fuels or adapt new technologies. Roughly, on a global basis, the cost is estimated at around $50 billion per year. The new regulations aim at ensuring a sustainable and greener character for the shipping industry. However, they also embrace a serious threat to the European Union shipping, the massive compliance of the fleet to new requirements. This wouldn't have been a problem if the short shipping fleet comprised of new vessels. It is estimated, nonetheless, that the average age of short shipping fleet in Europe is 20 years, while the respective one in the south is 25 years. The presented implementing plan recognizes the problem of the aging fleet as a pan-European one and seeks coordinated actions and sustainable solutions open to all parties involved. Our position over the last years has been the attention must be also given to the ships apart from the infrastructures, otherwise without ships the infrastructures will be useless. The plan highlights not only ships retrofitting, but also the renewal of short shipping fleet as the necessary precondition to achieve a sustainable European transport system. During the previous 3 fora, multiple ideas and solutions were suggested, and we, as Hellenic Short Ship Owners Association, feel really satisfied that our initiative, Europa Sea Plan, has been recognized as an attractive solution. In few words, the Europa Venture, the SPV established for the implementation of the Europa Sea Plan, acts as a multi-financing platform aiming to facilitate the access of ship owners, especially those of the South, to the necessary financial tools for achieving compliance to the new regulations, while at the same time improves the safety of the ships and the quality of the provided transport services. In this frame, the Europa Venture has created a pool of ship owners interested in renewing their fleet and is currently in the process of obtaining the best quotations for shipbuilding or ship retrofitting, of course, of vessels in European Union shipyards using European Union equipment. This mass construction project is expected to counterbalance, through the generated economies of scales, the cost difference of new building that use LNG as fuel, and which is approximately 25% more compared to a standard designed vessel. Of course, this mechanism is open to all ship owners and can be seen as a pan-European solution for financing risk sharing. Furthermore, as far as coastal shipping in Greece is concerned, almost 50% of the itineraries are subsidized, and as such, the ESP provides the necessary solutions to our complex coastal system, which otherwise will result to its collapse. ESP is a strategic one that can effectively correspond to the European short shipping fleet renewal while at the same time these new ships can also be considered an exportable product, given that their innovative construction process will make them very competitive as they will comply with majority of regulations mandatory in various places around the world. We welcome the solutions included in the detailed implementation plan because these reflect the actual needs of the sector. The preparatory meetings with the formulation of the DIP offered change to the stakeholders of the industry who face similar concerns and problems to sit together and exchange ideas, each from his own perspective. In this context, Europa Venture collaborates with the Zero Vision Tour, which shares the same vision with shipping stakeholders from Sweden, Finland, Spain, Romania and Cyprus. This is only the start of an ongoing dialogue aiming at improving Europe's transport system in order to achieve higher levels of efficiency. We, the Hellenic Shipping Association and the Greek Ship Owners Association for Passenger Ships, collaborated and we will continue to do so with the European Union in order to exploit the full potential of short sea shipping and contribute to the formulation of win-win strategies. The plan will further contribute to the revitalization of the shipbuilding industry in Europe and the generation of new employment positions. Finally, part of the improvement will be transferred to the end user due to the reduction of the construction and the lower service cost, while it will assist in the modal shift of cargo flows from road to sea. Thank you very much for your listening.
We have now listened to the shipowning side. I have obviously a mental problem with these microphones, sorry for that. And we'll move now for the ports. And representing the ports, we have from the Port of Venice Authority, my dear friend Antonio Rebedin, who is the Director for Strategic Planning and Development of the Venice Port Authority. Antonio, the floor is yours for 10 minutes. After that, it will fall down. So,
thank you, Jose. And thank you to Mr. Simpson and to you, because I must underline that is, I can see that next year will be a decade that we started with the first project together, that it was Adriamos, and it was regarding maritime links from Venice to Igoumenitsa in Greece, and it's thanks to this project and that nowadays Venice can host direct ro-ro services from Greece, and the vessel can find along the quayside directly the train to the center of Europe. This, I think, is a very successful example of the motorways of the sea policies all of you have carried out in this date. Thank you once more. I want to take the chance today to talk about a couple of issues that are affecting the shipping activities, the shipping transportation activities nowadays. The first one is concerning, as most of you probably know, the One Belt, One Road strategy that was launched a couple of years ago from the Chinese President Xi Jinping, that concern an incredible amount of money, of infrastructural investment, which with hundreds of billions of financial coverage from China to reach Europe and to consolidate the China's commercial trade. The question is that, and we are already talking about how this strategy could be compatible with the TEN-T, and how we can really make it sustainable with the choice that are made today in Europe. And we are even talking about in the recent weeks about an overcapacity in port system in Europe. but it's a matter of fact that the Chinese are approaching Europe through the countries in which port and transport infrastructure are weaker. So this is a matter of fact we have to consider in the next future and the next policies. Maybe the actual balancings of port infrastructure is not suitable for the next future economical geography of Europe. The other issues I wish to point out today is regarding the Mediterranean, the sea in which, as Portuguese, we operate, and a lot of ship owners and ports. You know, we cannot say or mention a level play field when we talk about Mediterranean, because, as you know, we are living a special situation. We are living a situation in which the other banks, the southern banks of the southern side of the Mediterranean is in a very unstable situation with a lot of conflicts. It's a special situation that now more than ever needs a special effort to improve relations and to consolidate the country that are still maintaining a level of civilization. My thinking goes to the famous program that was launched in 2005 by Loyola de Palacio, MOTORWAYS, a network of motorways for development and peace. We need such special programs to make our ship owner to face the situation and to develop the relation with such countries in order to try to stabilize as much as possible the trade in the Mediterranean. And this, I think, has to be achieved once more, because it was already part of and achieved and reviewed by the European Commission. This is our suggestion to work together even for the next decade. Thank you.
Very much, Antonio. So this concludes, thank you very, very much. This concludes our industrial stakeholder session. So I would now ask Nigel Laurie, who is a well-known shipping journalist. I love these words, shipping journalist. To come and steer the coming roundtable where we'll have a number of actors in the shipping industry joining us. So thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you very much for your participation. Allow me to say that I'm very happy that I was allowed for the last 25 years to be of service, to be a civil servant servicing the European industry and the European stakeholders. Thank you very much for allowing me to do that. And I hope that we still cooperate together. So, Nigel, the floor is yours, and of course, I call on Lord John Prescott, who is a passionate man for shipping. He's there. I know your project was not approved, but you're a passionate man for shipping. Lord John Prescott, first experience was in maritime transportation, so then he became, I don't know why, probably related to the fact that he was in maritime transportation, Vice Prime Minister in the UK, so Deputy Prime Minister. Ellen Jensen, Panayotis Zakariadakis, Vicente Del Rio, Elena Servazio, and Alexio Pico, who is the consortium leader dealing with our, please have a seat. Vicente, wherever you want to sit, you pick your choice, I mean. Yeah, okay, whatever, close to the way out. Okay, please step in. Just a final word of advice. We have been very cool about this, very relaxed, it's very good. I mean, we have heard staggering numbers, really, and we hope that the report that we are preparing, that we have prepared, that Brian has prepared, will be, again, of service, will be a tool used by the Commission to identify key objectives, and that we can be of service, that will listen to the industry, that will listen to the stakeholders. That's the purpose of it, and we hope that it reflects that. So thank you very much. Now the floor is yours. Steer us, please. Elena Servazio is the first one on the next page.
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much for the introduction, Jose. I'm not sure that being a shipping journalist is quite as exciting and romantic and, above all, remunerative as you perhaps think it might be. But it's certainly my pleasure to be here with you today, and thank you very much to DG Mo for inviting me to participate. We've heard a lot about the subject from participants in one respect and another, and I think that overall you've had a very, very good introduction to some of the key points and hot topics surrounding motorways of the seas. For centuries, the only method of moving people and goods overseas was shipping, and still today, as you know, because many of you are stakeholders in the shipping sector, still 90% of world trade is carried by sea because simply there is no alternative at all. And that also goes for 75% of the EU's external trade. So it's kind of extraordinary, I think, that in many respects you could call shipping Europe's best kept secret. How is that possible? A majority of the general public know next to nothing about shipping. Most European businesses, whether they are beneficiaries of shipping services or not, actually have very little contact directly with shipping and consequently very little understanding of it. We're all beneficiaries of shipping services, whether we know it or not. And Lloyd's List, the media organization that I work for, has been providing information about the maritime industry since 1734. And that's a very long time indeed. It's really the oldest, most traditional, big transport industry there is on Earth. So it's a very old, tried and tested method of transport between coastal nations. And I think the Motorways of the Seas can be called a visionary project because it's focused on this oldest of transport industries, and it's, I think, correctly identified it as the most modern. It's identified it as the modern solution. And it's done so because, and it is the modern solution because of its unrivaled economies of scale and its unrivaled potential to meet the environmental needs of our time. I think it's probably enough from me for the time being. We have an extremely distinguished panel who I'm very glad is joining me for this, what I hope will be a brief, sparky and above all efficient debate. So perhaps I can introduce you to all the panelists. I'm sure you're familiar with them anyway. Lord John Prescott of the House of Lords. He began his parliamentary work in 1917 and he's held several government positions, including head of the Department for Environment, Transport and the Regions. And prior to his political career, as I'm sure you know, Lord Prescott worked for the UK Merchant Navy and has since maintained a keen interest in shipping, so he knows what he's talking about. Helen Jansen is responsible, hi Helen, is responsible, I'm sorry, I'm turning my back on you all. Helen Jansen is responsible for strategy and communications in the Zero Vision Tool platform, which aims at a vision of a maritime industry with no negative impact on air and water. Panagiotis Zacharidakis is the Managing Director of Ocean Finance Greece. He's involved in several Motorways of the Seas projects, and he coordinates the Europa Ship Plan, which is the sort of southern equivalent of the Zero Vision tool in the north, aimed at the sustainable financing of short sea shipping. Vicente Del Rio is the CEO of Fundación Valencia Port since 2012, where he is responsible for budget planning, business development and institutional support in the various lines of port operations. Elena Savasio at the end, hi, is Advisory Project Principal for Lloyd's Register Quality Assurance, based in Milano, Italy. Alexio Pico, who briefly my iPad changed to Alexia Piccolo, but I fixed that. Alexio is a director at Circle, leading the consultant team to support the MOS detailed implementation plan, and he has 15 years experience in leading transport ICT projects. And Antonio, has Antonio left us? Antonio is still with us, but is not going to be part of the panel. So those are the panelists. We thought that we would start off and devote a little bit of time to answering some of the key questions that came up from members of the European Parliament after the first presentation of the plan. And to summarize a few of those questions, a number of MEPs focused on the question of the safety and reliability of short sea shipping and motorways of the sea to do the job that we're all hopeful that it can do. So I thought I'd start with Lord Prescott, who's actually served on ships, and ask him, you know, where do you think that the short sea shipping industry stands in terms of safety, reliability compared to other modes of transport, and how far has it come since you actually were working in the merchant navy?
Hello. Sorry. I was 10 years a seaman serving on Canard lines. Was a steward, not what they usually call a seaman, but nevertheless one has been actively involved in the shipping industry. I'm very pleased with the Motor of the Sea programme. I think it emphasises the importance of shipping, not only in its contribution to moving goods, as we've heard today, but also the contribution role it can make in regard to the environment. And there's a lot to talk about environment here, particularly about the fuels, the energies and efficiency. But I want to point out to you that whilst COP20 from the Kyoto Climate Change Agreement, which I was involved in negotiating in 1997, didn't specifically identify shipping, nor aircraft in that sense, but what we need to do is to recognise that COP21 has now given a target to governments. They have got to find policies that reduce the levels, produces the level reduction in carbon. That's what they've got to actually do. That will have a major effect on investment in the future. Already you're seeing it here with the Motorways of the Sea helping to finance engines or changes which have been referred to here. But the changes will come in the ports and they'll come in estuaries. We in our side are complaining because we haven't got our corridor, a northern one, running from Liverpool, Josie. I've come all this way for you to tell me you've lost your contract. Well, I hope we'll argue with you that shipping and corridors and ports and estuaries are a crucial part of future investment. And what we're doing now, we're going ahead, Josie, we have produced a report for the low carbon for the estuary called the Economics of Low Carbon Cities. So it's beyond just shipping, it's a whole region for carbon development. And that's what we're now trying to produce for the corridor, a northern one, a very important one, because in Dover, one of my Dover colleagues is here, but you know, we're so congested that 87% is now going through Britain, is going down through Dover. That's not enough. Could I just say the big question, since is in and out. Well, I belong to the in, and if shipping needing global decisions and global investment, that's why Britain needs to in the middle of it, and I must dash back after this conference and go and vote for that principle, that Britain should remain part of Europe.
Thanks very much for that comment. And a number of MEPs were interested in having more detail on the safety and reliability, including Wim van der Kamp of the Netherlands, Claudia Mendeiro de Aguirre of Portugal. Eleanor, I wondered if you would like to add a comment, because you're very experienced in quality assessment, in the regulatory side as well. What's your perspective on the degree of regulation and quality and responsibility out there in the shipping industry compared with other modes of transport?
Well, I think that the level is good. Can you hear me? Yeah. The level is good. What is important, I'm an expert on sustainability. We always have to remember that sustainability has three main pillars: the economic, the social, and the environmental aspects. And the safety of the motorways of the sea is not only, we don't have just to, we are in a round table looking for the future. Okay, so we have done a lot. We focused on the safety of people on the ships. We still need to focus on common KPIs related to safety, not only on the ships, but also on all the impacts related to safety of people and also of goods around in the chain. So that is what we have to look at when we were talking about safety in the motorways, not what we have done still today, because it's something that we have consolidated. We need to look what we have to do tomorrow to grant the safety of people, to grant the safety of goods, of financial aspects, for example. So this is what I want to bring to this round table, not to just focus on a little impact that we have in this project. We have to think in a sustainable way and have a more global vision of what is the most and what are the potential of this project to bring a new model of sustainable future for future generation. That is what we have to focus on. So that is my reply, not just to understand what is compliance to local regulation or to European regulation. It is not our target. If we still focus to be compliant to what is required by the regulation, we will never look to a sustainable world, because we will always focus to today and not to tomorrow, to what we want to be and not to what we are. So that is my reply, sorry.
That's a very good reply, thank you very much. Yes, I mean, you mentioned the entire logistics chain and to have a global view of it. And sitting next to you, Alexio, you have a great deal of experience of these things. And reading the detailed implementation plan, I must say that I had my own, I was interested in actually knowing a little bit more about how the integration, how the systems, we heard earlier from the Maritime Affairs Director of the Netherlands, how complex some of the maritime systems are, how difficult it can be to streamline some of these elements of the logistic chain. So Alexio, what's your perspective on what the main challenges are to achieve the necessary degree of integration that is going to make the Motorways of the Seas project a success?
Thanks, Nigel. And I think that the answer is based on my 15 years experience in ICT and transport projects, is on three levels. There are three dimensions to take into account. First one, of course, in order to have an effective maritime transport integration into the door-to-door logistic chain, the first one is infrastructure, for sure. The accessibility of ports, both from the maritime side and from the road and wake side, is still to be solved. It's not still fully there. Specifically, in terms of rail, for instance, there are really a number of bottlenecks that should be tackled in order to achieve this maritime transport integration in the logistic chain from the infrastructure side. And then we have more the soft side that is based on two sides. One is processes, simplifying and streamlining processes. This is not only from the purely business-to-business logistic side, but also from the business to administration. Think about custom processes. A lot of improvements have been done, but still there is a way to go in improving custom processes all over Europe. And obviously, when we talk about processes, we talk about ICT, integrating ICT systems of the different actors on the logistic chain. And in this respect, I think both on processes and on ICT, Motorway of the Sea has already contributed a lot in this respect. I give you just two examples. In one Motorway of the Sea project, a big shipper has been provided with a platform that we can call it corridor information platform, corridor information pipeline, that is exactly in line also with the digital agenda for transport policy. They can use this platform in order to have a unique access to all the cargo that are shipped for them, without having, as in the past, a number of telephone calls, fax, emails, Excel file, and integrated in their systems in order to have a real just-in-time production. That's what they need. That's what most of the shipper needs in order to be effective. And in another Motorway of the Sea project, both solution has been evaluated from the return on investment side. It has been demonstrated that the return on investment of all these cargo clearance solutions and procedures is less than 2 years, that the net value is quite high, and specifically in terms of figure, for €1 invested by Europe, there are 27 euro in net present benefit for the actors of the logistic chain. And I think this is a quite a good example of how Motorway